Usually when we talk about surviving some kind of catastrophic event, the advice we all hear is, well, it's pretty standard.
Right, follow the rules.
Exactly. Trust the engineering, buckle your seatbelt.
Yeah, the laminated safety card stuff.
Right. The safety protocols are drilled into us literally from birth to keep human error out of the equation.
Because they offer us this illusion of control, right? We want to believe we can negotiate with physics.
But the source material for today's deep dive, it just completely shatters that illusion.
It really does.
Yeah, we are looking at a forensic breakdown of the survival narrative from the 2000 film Castaway. And our mission today isn't just to recap a famous movie that, most of you listening probably already know by heart.
Right, we're dissecting the actual biological and psychological mechanics of human resilience.
Exactly. We are looking at what actually happens to the mind and the body when you are stripped of every single modern convenience.
Which forces a terrifying question on you, the listener. I mean, take away your phone, your grocery store, your entire social network.
Literally everything.
Yeah, strip away everything that makes you a modern human. What actually keeps you alive? What is the baseline operating system of a human being?
And to explore that, we have to start with the ultimate irony that kicks off this entire nightmare for the main character, Chuck.
Oh, the crash.
Yes, because the only reason he survives this horrific plane crash is specifically because he ignored protocol.
Yeah.
He was not wearing his seatbelt.
Right, and the inciting incident itself is just, well, it's a masterpiece of sudden, unadulterated chaos.
That's terrifying.
It is. The transition from mundane comfort to absolute terror is instantaneous. Chuck is simply using the airplane lavatory during a storm over the Pacific, and then a catastrophic failure occurs.
The plane is like 3,000 meters above the ocean. The cabin pressure violently drops, cargo catches fire, and an explosion literally rips through the fuselage.
And the pilot desperately orders Chuck to strap in for a water landing.
But in the tumbling chaos, Chuck drops a pocket watch.
Right, the deeply sentimental gift from his girlfriend, Kelly.
Yeah. And in his attempt to grab it, the plane's angle violently shifts, pinning him away from his seat.
Which is where we see the Swiss cheese model of catastrophic failure, but like in reverse.
Wait, what do you mean by reverse?
Well, usually that model describes how multiple small failures align perfectly to cause a disaster. Here, multiple small failures like dropping a watch, being out of a seat, ignoring a pilot's order, they align perfectly to create a miracle.
Wow, yeah, because when that massive metal tube hits the ocean, it instantly floods.
And the pilot was safely buckled in, right?
Right. But he actually unbuckles at the last second to try and secure Chuck, and the violent impact severely injures the pilot.
But Chuck, because he is essentially in free fall inside a flooding cabin, he's able to escape the wreckage.
It completely upends our understanding of risk, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The very safety protocols meant to save a life became a death sentence, while this trivial, sentimental object inadvertently acted as his savior.
It's like a black swan event.
Yeah, and even his escape is dictated by blind physics, not skill.
Right. He grabs a life raft, but its tether gets caught on the sinking plane. He's being dragged down into the freezing depths. He's holding his breath, panicking, and the rope just snaps.
Pure luck.
Pure luck. Then an engine explodes, launching him through the air, and he somehow survives, punishing storm waves on a tiny piece of rubber.
It's pure, chaotic luck fueled by massive dumps of adrenaline.
But that adrenaline burns off.
It does. And this is where the psychological mechanics become really fascinating, because the body of the pilot washes ashore.
The guy who tried to save him?
Yeah. Chuck buries him, writes his date of death on a rock to honor him, and takes his shoes and a flashlight.
But he explicitly leaves behind the pilot's wallet.
Right.
Which makes perfect sense. I mean, in civilization, a wallet is your identity. On that island, the concept of legal identification or currency evaporates instantly.
Cash can't be eaten.
Exactly. But what fascinates me is what he doesn't open. Dozens of company delivery parcels wash ashore. Chuck gathers them up, but he refuses to open them.
He leaves them completely sealed.
Yeah. He has nothing but the clothes on his back and Kelly's pocket watch. Yet he leaves these boxes sealed out of, professional integrity to his clients.
To understand this, we have to look at the psychology of identity anchors.
Okay, break that down for me.
By keeping those boxes closed, he isn't just being a stubborn corporate employee, he is actively protecting his psychological framework.
As long as he respects the rules of his old job, he is still Chuck the professional.
Exactly. The sealed boxes represent a physical tether to the civilized world. He is violently rejecting the reality of becoming Chuck the stranded animal.
Okay, I have to push back on that, though.
Sure.
At what point does an identity anchor become a fatal liability? The guy is starving.
He is.
He's desperately cracking open coconuts with sharp stones until his hands bleed. He's trying to collect meager drops of morning dew in coconut shells just to stay hydrated.
It's brutal.
Isn't keeping those boxes closed practically a death wish at this point?
Yeah.
It seems like a massive cognitive failure to ignore potential survival tools sitting right in front of him.
It is a profound cognitive dissonance, absolutely. But it highlights how powerfully the brain will protect its sense of self, even at the expense of its physical vessel.
Wow.
However, human biology always wins that tug of war. You can deny your immediate reality to protect your sanity for a few days, maybe a week.
But eventually the hunger takes over.
Yeah, the biological imperative, the severe calorie deficit, the dehydration, it overrides the prefrontal cortex. The body forces the mind to break its own rules.
And the breaking point is terrifying. One night, while going to the bathroom, he spots a distant ship's light.
Right.
He frantically tries to paddle his shredded raft out to it, but the surf acts like a concrete wall. It beats him back, and he suffers a severe, deep gash on his leg from the razor-sharp coral.
It forces a retreat. He crawls into a dark cave during a relentless, massive rainstorm.
He's forced to drink dirty rainwater just to stave off kidney failure.
And then his flashlight, that one remaining technological comfort he took from the pilot, it flickers and dies.
And he wakes up to the ultimate biological reality check. His leg wound is festering and infested with maggots.
It's horrible.
He is staring down the barrel of severe sepsis, amputation, or death. The illusion of being a professional on a delay is dead. He finally abandons the rules and violently rips open the parcels.
And the irony of the contents is staggering. I mean, when you open a survival kit, you expect flares, a knife, maybe water purification tablets.
But he gets a dozen videotapes, a volleyball, a woman's long dress, and a pair of ice skates.
Items that are practically punchlines for a man dying on a desert island.
But he leaves exactly one parcel unopened, the one with angel wings painted on it. Why keep one closed when he's finally crossed that threshold?
Because the brain still requires an anchor, but the nature of that anchor shifts. It's no longer about preserving his past identity as a professional.
It's about preserving a sliver of future hope.
Exactly. By not knowing what's inside, it remains a container of infinite potential. It gives him a psychological reason to see tomorrow.
But those opened items, this is where I think the real genius of the survival mechanics shines. It's like watching an extreme, high-stakes display of neuroplasticity.
Oh, definitely.
We have this psychological concept of functional fixedness, right?
Yeah.
The cognitive bias that limits a person to using an object only in the way it is traditionally used.
Precisely. Under normal circumstances, you look at an ice skate and see winter recreation.
Right.
But under the duress of starvation and trauma, Chuck's brain shatters that functional fixedness.
Every useless item from our modern world is violently translated into primitive technology. He uses the packing foam to dress his maggot-infested wound.
Shoelaces become medical bandages.
Yeah, and the ice skate blades become his hatchet, his knife, and a makeshift mirror. He even rips apart the woman's dress, taking the black netting to weave a functioning fishing net.
It's a remarkable cognitive adaptation. But mastering tools doesn't solve the most critical equation for long-term survival, which is thermoregulation and calorie extraction.
He desperately needs fire to cook protein and to create a signal.
And his attempts at friction fire are agonizing. He fails repeatedly. His hands become raw, blistered, and bloody from the friction.
And this leads to arguably the most famous moment in the narrative. In a fit of absolute primal rage and despair, he grabs that seemingly useless volleyball and hurls it away.
Leaving a vivid, bloody handprint on the leather.
Right. When he goes to retrieve it, he looks at the blood, and he uses his own saliva to carve eyes and a smile into it. He names it Wilson.
And, a lot of people, when they look at this moment, diagnose it as a descent into madness. They see a man hallucinating out of grief.
Yeah, that's the comment too.
But it is the exact opposite. Psychologically, the creation of Wilson is a profoundly brilliant, deliberate neurological survival strategy.
Okay, explain the mechanics of that, because on the surface, talking to a sporting good seems objectively crazy.
Think about the physiological impact of absolute solitary confinement. Without social mirroring, without a feedback loop from another consciousness, the human brain begins to atrophy.
Right, cognitive decline.
It sets in rapidly. By anthropomorphizing the volleyball, by giving it a name, a face, and a personality, Chuck is hacking his own neurochemistry.
So he's tricking his brain into releasing social chemicals.
Exactly. When he argues with Wilson or confides in him, his brain triggers the release of dopamine and oxytocin. It activates the social circuitry that prevents him from slipping into a catatonic depression. Wilson isn't madness. Wilson is the cure for the paralyzing, lethal isolation of that island.
So Wilson gives him the externalized mental vigor he desperately needs to go back to the wood, try again, and finally create fire.
And the fire changes the paradigm. He now has cooked food, he has a signal.
But as the source material jumps forward, we see that mastering the mechanics of survival is not the same as living.
No, it's not. 4 years pass. Think about the sheer volume of time, over 1,400 days.
We get frustrated when the Wi-Fi drops for 20 minutes,
Yeah.
Imagine 1,400 days of absolute deafening silence. The biological toll is intense.
He's transformed into this lean, sun-baked wild man.
He can spear fish from a distance with deadly accuracy, but you can see the light in his eyes is completely extinguished.
The physical adaptations are paired with brutal physical decay. He suffers from a severely abscessed tooth.
Oh, that part is so hard to watch.
The infection threatens to travel to his brain, which would be fatal, and he is forced to perform primitive surgery on himself.
He uses the ice skate blade and a rock to violently knock the tooth out of his own skull.
It's visceral and horrifying, but it also proves that he has completely adapted to his new reality.
And then the environment throws him a wild card. A large piece of plastic, part of a portable toilet, blows down from the island's cliffs.
And Chuck immediately recognizes its aerodynamic potential as a sail to cut through the surf.
This is a critical moment, but wait, let me challenge this. We are talking about a man who has been living on raw crab, coconut water, and whatever meager fish he can spear for 4 years.
Right.
He is severely malnourished. Is it actually scientifically plausible that his prefrontal cortex, after that much starvation and isolation, would still have the spatial reasoning and engineering capacity to design a seaworthy raft and calculate wind aerodynamics?
It's a fantastic question. If you put a well-fed person in a room and ask them to design a raft out of vines, they'd struggle. But survival neuroplasticity is incredibly focused. Chuck's brain has pruned away everything non-essential. He's not thinking about taxes or politics or traffic.
Just survival.
100% of his cognitive bandwidth is dedicated to physics, weather patterns, and escape. Plus, he's entered a state of chronic ketosis, which, while physically degrading over years, can actually sharpen certain types of focused cognitive clarity.
And that focus is relentless. He engineers a massive raft using branches, and he binds it all together using the magnetic tape from those video packages he opened years ago.
But his mental state surrounding his departure is incredibly fragile.
Yeah, he actually picks a fight with Wilson while building it. He kicks the volleyball away, screaming that he can't talk to it forever, only to immediately suffer a panic attack, frantically searching for it in the dark and lovingly repainting its faded face.
It demonstrates how deeply embedded that neurological hack became. Wilson is no longer a tool. Wilson is his emotional regulator.
And before he pushes that raft into the ocean, he leaves a final message carved into the rock, claiming a world record of being stranded for over 10,500 days.
It's a testament that he existed.
But as he breaches those massive waves, using the porta-potty door as a sail, he finally breaks past the barrier surf. He looks back at the island as it shrinks in the distance.
And you can see he feels this profound, complicated attachment to it.
Why wouldn't he just feel absolute relief? I mean, that island was a prison that tortured him and stole 4 years of his life.
It's a phenomenon closely related to environmental Stockholm syndrome.
Really?
Yes, the island was a place of immense starvation, pain, and isolation, but it was also his crucible. It was the arena that proved his absolute strength.
Oh, I see.
He walked onto that island a soft, clock-watching executive, and he leaves it as a master of his environment. Without that incredible hardship, he wouldn't know the sheer, fathomless depths of his own resilience.
Leaving it means leaving the very place that birthed his true self.
Exactly.
That makes total sense when you break it down. He conquered the static environment of the island. But the ocean. The ocean is a dynamic, chaotic system, and it is far less forgiving.
Once he is adrift in the open Pacific, the elements show absolutely zero mercy. A massive, violent storm rolls in, battering the raft and physically destroying the canopy he built.
And in the aftermath of that storm, the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen to Chuck's ecology occurs. The rope-holding Wilson comes loose.
Devastating.
Chuck wakes up from exhaustion to see the volleyball drifting away on the current. He ties himself to the raft with a tether and throws himself into the terrifying deep water to save him. But the tether isn't long enough.
The distance is too great.
He is literally choking on seawater, stretching his hand out. But he has to make the agonizing choice to stop swimming, or he will drown.
He has to let go.
He has to watch his only friend float away into the endless blue, sobbing and screaming, "Wilson, I'm sorry, forgive me."
It is a devastating sequence, but its importance isn't just sentimental, it's biological. The loss of Wilson induces what survival psychologists call give-up-itis, or psychogenic death.
Wait, explain that. Because he just survived 4 years of hell, but losing a volleyball makes him want to die?
Yes, because Wilson wasn't just a volleyball, Wilson was his externalized will to live.
Oh, wow.
When your brain places all its social and emotional weight onto an external object, and that object is suddenly removed, the brain decides the fight is over.
That's terrifying.
The neurochemical drop is so severe that the body actually begins to shut down.
He literally surrenders. He throws his only paddle into the ocean. He collapses onto the ruined logs of his raft, completely ready to let the sea take him. He has survived the physical elements, but the psychological blow killed his endurance.
He accepts death, but right at the absolute nadir of his journey, the miracle occurs.
He hears a massive blast. He weakly lifts his head to see a colossal container ship looming over his tiny, broken raft like a steel mountain. He is discovered.
The rescue is nothing short of miraculous. But surviving the brutal elements of the Pacific was only half the battle.
Right.
Because now Chuck has to survive, returning to a world that completely moved on without him.
The culture shock of the return is incredibly jarring. He comes back as a headline famous survivor. But to Chuck, all the cameras and the doctors mean nothing. He only cares about one thing.
Seeing Kelly.
Yeah. The woman whose memory and whose pocket watch was the original anchor that kept him alive before Wilson.
And here is the absolute gut punch of the reality he returns to.
He goes to her house. The door opens, but it's not Kelly. A man introduces himself. "I am Kelly's husband, Jerry Lovett." She isn't just married to someone else, she has a child.
And Jerry is kind. He tells Chuck that Kelly needs time to process this ghost returning from the dead. And Chuck, he just absorbs it.
It's a profound display of empathy. He realizes it's nobody's fault. He acknowledges that if the roles were reversed, he likely would have done the exact same thing.
The world didn't stop spinning because he fell out of the sky.
Exactly. But the alienation deepens violently when the company throws him a lavish welcome home party. The catering is meant to honor him. They serve a massive feast of gourmet seafood.
Giant crab legs, beautiful sushi, piles of ice.
Put yourself in Chuck's shoes in that room. He's standing in a tailored suit, staring at a buffet table, feeling completely, utterly alienated.
Because to his coworkers, crab legs are a luxury. They represent celebration and wealth.
But to Chuck, a crab represents tedious, miserable, raw survival. It is a visceral, sensory trigger of trauma.
It perfectly encapsulates the chasm between normal society and Chuck's permanent reality. He is surrounded by well-meaning friends, surrounded by abundance, and yet he is arguably more psychologically isolated in that banquet hall than he was when he was bleeding in a cave.
It's an intense form of hyper-alienation.
Yeah.
And yet he handles it with such remarkable grace. There's no screaming at the unfairness of the universe.
Just a heartbreaking, quiet understanding of the passage of time.
Which brings us to the final, beautiful act of his journey. The story ends with Chuck driving his car out to a literal crossroads in the middle of the American plains.
He is there to deliver that one parcel, the package with the angel wings painted on it that he refused to open on the island.
He walks up to a farmhouse, but nobody is home. So he leaves the package at the door with a simple sticky note. It just says, "This package saved my life. Thank you." And he gets back in his car and he drives away.
He knows he will never, ever find out what was inside that box.
We have watched a man who began the story utterly ruled by the clock, obsessed with tracking every second of time, get stripped of everything.
Yeah.
He was forced into an environment where time was meaningless and survival was everything, and he emerges as someone who finally learns to accept what he cannot control. Whether that's the indifferent ocean, the relentless passage of time, or the choices of the people he loves, it really is a masterclass in the human condition. From a guy frantically trying to save a pocket watch while an airplane disintegrates, to a man standing at a quiet crossroads, completely at peace with the unknown.
It's incredible.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with as you go about the rest of your day. Think about that one unopened parcel. Chuck used it as a symbol of hope on that island, precisely because he didn't know what was inside.
Ignorance was its power.
It was pure, unadulterated potential. It raises a fascinating question for your own life. What is the unopened parcel you are carrying right now? What is that one